we teach people to love themselves. We say that despite even being a commercial exploit of that economy, the one that people seem to be signing up for, that we call development. That's what I mean by, the modern day kind of definition of what a developing economy is or should become, is that it should become like those. And those economies in the West were built upon slave labor, and I think that slave labor, looking at human resources, is interesting to look at what human resources means today. But as a matter of fact, we were the human resources that kind of spurred the growth of this economy, this generic commercial um, economy that turns us all into consumers and not national citizens. So even now the word nation takes on a different meaning, because, for example, the corporation doesn't have a nation. They can be registered somewhere, but they operate above and beyond any national legislative body and many international ones. And so um, that's the dominant force these days, and I think that that's clear to many people. And for black people to look at that and to say that we want to participate in that, well, we always have to face the fact that once we were objects of that system. Um, and I think that our very presence reminds white people in the West, because there's a definite denial around racism. It's almost like it's just a dirty and taboo word to cry racism. And to talk about it, one need be a political expert, an economic expert, or, like me, a so-called health expert or a sociologist, to even begin to talk about racism, as if it doesn't manifest itself in our everyday lives, as if, my little cousin who's in the 7th grade can't school a lot of people about racism, or that my grandmother, who has a fraction of my formal education, can't school a lot of people about racism. It's as if the only talk that we can have of racism is um, in the sense of trying to prove that it even exists. Can you imagine trying to prove that one of the dominant forces, super forces in your life, um, trying to prove that it exists, and having, and sort of that being on you to prove that it exists. Otherwise, people like to say, "Oh, get over it. Oh, it doesn't exist. Oh, but there's nothing you can do about it. So just try and make as much money as you can." And I look at the so-called developing world, and I look at the new consumer citizens in developing urban cities, and it frightens me, because in many ways, I feel like they look at black people in the commercial economy through hip hop culture as an example. But you only need to look at any of our actors and actresses, look at Hollywood, and they're constantly portraying that everything really is okay. But I say to you again, if you just look at movies, look at a movie like American Gangster. It came out last year, a great movie, award winning, blah, blah, blah. But people are comfortable with those images, and that's what I'm saying. When you sign up for this commercial economy, you sign up for many things, and part of that is, passively, tacitly accepting that there is a hierarchy and that you're somewhere on it. Now, let me go back to why I say that our job here is to teach people to love themselves. There's a video that I saw, an interview about. I think it was about The Color Purple. It was Alice Walker, the author, speaking about her work, and she was saying that that's our place here in this kind of universe. In our searching for why are we here, or why have we suffered. You know, is that we're on this journey to love ourselves, to accept ourselves, and seeing how much race plays a part of everywhere and every place in the world that I've been. I mean, looking at how skin color determines so much. And I don't just talk about here in India with the fair and lovely, and really people signing up to just say that fair is beautiful, fair is lovely, and all these things are equated with wealth, with dominance, with a kind of power, and that's a very specific kind of power. But that's also what people are signing up for when they become consumer citizens. And so our very presence says to people that, wait a minute. I mean, as soon as you're a critically thinking black person and you don't accept that, or you have some trouble at least, and you start to think critically about it, it's quite frightening for a lot of people because it really shakes their very foundation. I mean, it shakes the very notion of who they are becoming, of their own identities. Because remember, a lot of people go into such consumer um, societies, or sign up for them, participate in them, believe in them, patronize them, pray to them, bow to them, bow to the golden arches, um, because of the historical injustices. Because a woman anywhere in the world can say, well, if I, do X, Y, and Z and obtain the commercial economy's trinkets of power and success, then I will be liberated from the sexism that has so greatly influenced my life. Does an elite person say that in India? Does a poor person who has been poor for generations, and we're talking about thousands of years, um, do those people, do those people um, sign up because they think that there's a way to get out of this? And I think that they do. And what I want for them to understand, from having lived amongst the blue-eyed devil, as Malcolm X would say, having lived in that environment, coming from the United States, and having really giving it a sincere try, a sincere effort, to make it work, to make the system work, I can say that there's a lot about a system that can never work.